Who is Tom Kemper? Someone who decides, here's who I am. I'm someone who loves being human and living on a planet that is the most beautiful place that a human being could possibly ever exist. And I love knowing that while I've been here, I've been able to make a difference. I'm interested in seeing other people step forward and make a difference, because I'm in a place now where I can't do the work that I used to do. I can only speak to others and set an example in my behavior so that other people will hopefully pick up the pieces and start putting together the strategy that's going to get us to a place where we'll experience heaven on earth, which is something I believe we can do. I look around me and I see what's possible. I see the beauty that's inherent in this place that we call our own. Sometimes it's a bird's song. Sometimes it's a cloud, the formation of a cloud in a beautiful blue sky. Sometimes the ability to see the stars at night. Sometimes it's just an awareness of a smell, a natural nature, a smell, an aroma, a fragrance that only nature can provide, because it's a certain flower blooming or a certain time of year when there's rain falling on the ground. And I guess what really drives me is an awareness. There's so much around us that has so much beauty and so much spirit, and something to which we can connect and get so much more meaning than we may be experiencing through all the stuff we tend to accumulate and want and desire as ego-driven humans. I'm aware of a consciousness now that I was not previously aware of, that really is the essence of who I am, and allows me to know that I am much more than an ego-driven human being. As any human being, yes, I've made choices, and I continue making choices that probably aren't good for the planet. And I have to always come back to a place of silence and awareness of, what really is the best possible outcome for not just myself, but for the whole planet of human beings and other living and non-living beings, as well as for Mother Earth. So it takes a great shift. So I understand why it takes so long for us as humans to make change, because we don't naturally make decisions consciously. So many of our decisions are made with our unconscious, our ego, and that's where a lot of our challenges arise. So we're not making those decisions. We're not behaving out of consciousness, we're behaving out of unconsciousness. I know that in the last 8 years since I was diagnosed with Parkinson's, that as I've become more as I've experienced more since that diagnosis of my relationship with the diagnosis. I've had a great deal of what I would call suffering and pain. And as I've dealt with that pain and come to accept it, I've come closer to knowing who I am and what's really important. And in that consciousness, I've learned much more, not just about myself, but about how I fit in as a spiritual being here on earth, connected to other spiritual beings. And at the time we're all here as spiritual beings, we're living a human existence, which means we're spiritual beings operating on a physical plane. And until I really became conscious of the fact that I am indeed a spiritual being and connected to a greater source of power, greater source of love, and connected to all other spiritual beings, that awareness, that consciousness has arisen as I've spent many, many hours laying back in this chair because there was nothing else I could do. And my options were scream out in pain and engage the world in my suffering, or dig deep to a place of knowingness that I could only come to understand through getting in touch with a place of silence and feeling my connection to everything in existence around me.
Have you ever thought of your body as a metaphor to the earth? The same way you would look at, your life, and you stress, trying to get as much out of your body in its lifespan, and eventually taking it to the point where you've depleted it. And now your body's going through a similar metaphor, which the earth can be kind of found on that same parallel.
I think it's an amazing analogy, and I think it's a very accurate analogy. I think many of us that are suffering right now are doing exactly what Mother Earth is feeling. I think probably it's accurate to say in my life I've tried to do as much and be as much and have as much as I possibly could have while I'm here. And I can tell you that at the very most basic level of existence, for all living beings and non-living beings and everything that exists in the cosmos, we're all made of the same thing. We're all comprised of the same elements, the same minerals, the same gases, the same chemicals. We're all made of the same thing. What Mother Earth is made of, we are made of also. We're part of Mother Earth. She's part of us. And what we do to stress ourselves, we're also causing that same stress on her. What we don't realize many times, what we're not conscious of, is the fact that as we stress her, we put greater stress on ourselves, because we're unconsciously taking so much from her and not giving anything back. As we're doing that, we're not giving anything back to ourselves. We're not replenishing ourselves. And I'm guilty of that myself. In building my business, I did that for many, many, many years. In pursuit of having more and being more and never enough. And realizing that there's only so much that I could do to myself without going past the point of being able to heal or recover from the damage. As we literally degrade and destroy Mother Earth around us, we're doing it to ourselves as well. What I think probably is the best thing that I've come to understand and have learned is that I now have to start really loving myself, which means taking care of myself and paying attention to the signs that say I'm doing too much, or I'm taking on too much. I'm stressing my body beyond its limits. And by doing that, I now have enough love that I can begin to accept and love other human beings around me. And since we're all human, we're all guilty of the same behaviors, and we're all getting the same results. Some earlier than others, some later than others, but at some point we're all affected by the same thing. I think it's a wonderful way to look at it, and I've never really thought about it that way, although, it's a perfect way to look at it. What we're doing to ourselves, we're doing to the planet. What we do to the planet, we do to ourselves.